The only thing standing between you and the life of your dreams is your obedience to a few unshakable rules, not luck, not timing, not talent. Just discipline to follow a blueprint of principles that have built empires and created legends. Ignore them and success becomes a ghost. Follow them and you become unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, there are two types of people in this world: those who wait for greatness to find them, and those who create it through the application of unbreakable laws. You are here because something within you refuses to settle. And today I will give you the rules, the unchangeable principles that every self-made titan has followed, whether they knew it or not. This is not guesswork. This is proven success philosophy. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. It is the very foundation upon which all success is built. Without it, your efforts are scattered, your energy diluted, and your results unpredictable. A man without a definite purpose is like a ship without a rudder drifting with the current, subject to the winds of chance and ultimately arriving nowhere. But the man with a clearly defined purpose becomes a magnet for opportunities, resources, and people that align with his vision. To possess definiteness of purpose means you know exactly what you want in life and you are determined to get it. This is not wishful thinking or vague ambition. It is a crystal clear mental picture of your desired outcome, backed by a relentless commitment to bring it into existence. Every decision you make, every action you take, and every habit you form is filtered through the lens of this purpose. It simplifies your path because it eliminates distractions. When your objective is defined, you no longer chase 10 things at once. You pursue one thing with full power. Consider the example of Thomas Edison. His definite purpose was not just to invent, but to bring electric light into every home in America. That single aim consumed his thoughts, dictated his schedule, and focused his work. Over 10,000 failed experiments could not deter him because his purpose anchored him. He wasn't just playing with filaments, he was building the future. Had Edison approached his work with a vague interest in science or a general love for tinkering, he would have faded into obscurity. It was his definiteness of purpose that pulled him forward when everything else failed. His mind was made up. The world had no choice but to obey. This principle applies regardless of your field. If you are a business owner, your definite purpose might be to revolutionize your industry through a specific innovation. If you are a student, your purpose may be to become the world's foremost expert in a narrow field of study. If you are an artist, your aim may be to move the world emotionally through your craft. The scale doesn't matter. The clarity does. The power is not in the size of the dream, but in the unshakable commitment to one clearly defined mission. When your life revolves around a single driving aim, your energy gathers like a laser, piercing through obstacles and opposition. Burning desire is the engine of all achievement. It is the white-hot intensity that separates the dreamer from the doer, the hopeful from the accomplished, the average from the extraordinary. A mere wish, a passive hope, will not move the needle of life. It is only when desire becomes an obsession, when it occupies your mind day and night, when it becomes the dominant force of your thoughts, that it begins to shape reality. This kind of desire is not casual. It is not interested in convenience. It demands sacrifice, commitment, and an unrelenting will. You must want your goal more than you want comfort, more than you want approval, more than you want to breathe easy. A man with a burning desire will keep going when logic says stop, when the odds look impossible, when failure has visited again and again. He will persist not because he always knows how, but because he has already decided that he must. Take the example of Henry Ford. He was not born into privilege. He had no great education, no resources, no advantage, but one desire. Ford had a vision of building an automobile that the common man could afford, something that was considered both foolish and unworkable at the time. But he was not concerned with the opinions of critics. His desire to bring his idea to life burned with such intensity that every failure became a lesson, every setback a stepping stone. When his early companies collapsed, he started again. When people laughed at the idea of the assembly line, he built one anyway. His desire made him blind to doubt and deaf to ridicule. It fueled his innovation, shaped his leadership, and ultimately transformed not just an industry, but the modern world. Burning desire is not passive. It is not polite. It is a force that consumes the mind and reorganizes your life around its fulfillment. It makes you impatient with excuses and intolerant of mediocrity. It rewrites your habits, hardens your discipline, and sharpens your focus. People often speak of motivation, but motivation without desire is like a spark without fuel. Burning desire is the fuel that turns intentions into reality. It will make you study when others sleep, plan when others party, and act when others hesitate. You may not have wealth, you may not have influence, you may not even have support, but if you possess burning desire, you hold the one force that can draw every other necessity to you through sheer magnetic will. This is not fantasy. It is the secret behind every towering achievement history has ever recorded. Faith is the cornerstone of all power within the human mind. It is the belief utter, unwavering, and unquestionable that what you desire is not only possible, but inevitable. When faith is present, it does not argue. It does not beg for reassurance. It knows. Faith turns your goals from distant hopes into present convictions. But faith alone is not a gift that some possess and others don't. It is a state that can be cultivated, strengthened, and directed through the deliberate use of autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the act of feeding the subconscious mind a repeated message charged with emotion until it accepts that message as truth and begins working in harmony with it. The human mind cannot hold two dominating thoughts at the same time. If one thought is laced with doubt and fear, and the other is packed with faith and certainty, whichever is more consistently repeated with emotional intensity will dominate the subconscious and shape your behavior, decisions, and outcomes accordingly. The process of autosuggestion is simple in design, but monumental in power. It begins with clearly defining your goal, reducing it to a concise statement, and then repeating it to yourself daily with conviction, with imagery, and most importantly, with feeling. Cold repetition is ineffective. The subconscious does not respond to logic, it responds to emotion. The more you say it, the more real it becomes. The more real it becomes, the more you begin to act in alignment with it. Your behavior changes not because you are forcing it, but because your identity begins to shift toward the belief. And when that shift occurs, when belief replaces hope, doors begin to open, ideas begin to form, and obstacles begin to shrink. Consider the example of Muhammad Ali. Before he became the heavyweight champion of the world, he told the world again and again, "I am the greatest." He did not say this after he had won titles. He said it before. He embedded it in his mind so deeply through repetition, passion, and certainty that it became his truth long before it became the world's truth. Ali understood the principle of autosuggestion, whether he named it or not. He used faith to write the script of his future and autosuggestion to rehearse it until he believed it. That belief altered his physical performance, his mental toughness, and even how others perceived him. He did not wait for victory to believe in himself. He believed, and then victory followed. Faith did not come from external validation. It was self-constructed and internally enforced through constant verbal and emotional reinforcement. The same principle is available to anyone. A salesman who repeatedly affirms his ability to close deals with ease begins to carry himself differently. His tone changes. His posture changes. His confidence becomes contagious and prospects respond with trust. A student who tells herself every morning, "I absorb knowledge quickly and think with clarity," gradually dismantles the walls of self-doubt that once held her back. Over time, these affirmations become beliefs, and beliefs become results. The mind, when filled with faith through the vehicle of autosuggestion, becomes a tool of immeasurable power. It sees opportunity where others see risk. It persists where others retreat. It creates results not through force, but through inner alignment with a reality that has not yet arrived, but is already accepted as true. Knowledge in and of itself is not power. It only becomes power when it is organized into definite plans of action and directed toward a specific purpose. The world is filled with educated derelicts, people who possess degrees, certificates, and credentials, yet drift through life aimlessly because they have no idea how to convert their knowledge into usable form. The mind is not a warehouse for facts. It is a forge where thought is shaped into results. And the only knowledge that carries weight in the pursuit of success is specialized knowledge, that which is tightly focused, practical in use, and deliberately applied. General education can make you literate, but it is specialized knowledge that makes you valuable. It is the individual who chooses a field, masters its intricacies, and applies what he knows to solve real problems who commands the respect, the income, and the influence that others only dream about. Specialized knowledge is not confined to universities. In fact, the most powerful and profitable forms of it are often developed outside formal education entirely. It can come from books, from experience, from observation, and most of all, from action. What matters is not how much you know, but how precisely and effectively you use what you know. The specialist is the one who becomes indispensable. While the generalist dabbles in many directions and becomes diluted in value, the specialist carves a niche so specific that no one else can quite replace him. A man who understands every moving part of a single machine may be more valuable than another who understands 50 different machines superficially. A woman who knows how to market a specific kind of product to a very specific audience may out-earn a marketer with a wide but shallow range. It is depth, not breadth, that builds empires. A powerful example of this principle is seen in the life of Andrew Carnegie. He was not the most educated man in terms of formal schooling. In fact, his academic background was minimal. But Carnegie possessed specialized knowledge both in the steel industry and, more importantly, in identifying and surrounding himself with others who held specific knowledge that he could direct. He understood the production of steel. He understood efficiency. He understood business structure. He didn't try to know everything. He knew exactly what he needed to know and developed mastery in those areas. Then he applied that knowledge with laser precision. His entire fortune was built not on being a jack of all trades, but on mastering a limited number of principles and executing them with relentless discipline. His empire was a result of focused application of what most people overlook in favor of chasing more impressive titles or superficial prestige. The same law applies in any era. In today's world, a programmer who deeply understands one specific coding language and how to apply it to a certain industry problem will be more sought after than someone who dabbles in many languages but lacks application. A health coach who understands the science of metabolic function and has specialized methods for helping clients with thyroid issues will outpace a general fitness trainer offering generic advice. The marketplace does not reward the one who knows the most. It rewards the one who solves the most urgent, specific problems with clarity, speed, and expertise. That ability is not granted at birth. It is earned through continuous learning, deliberate practice, and a relentless focus on mastery within a chosen domain. Talent may open the door, but only persistence keeps it open. The world is littered with individuals of extraordinary natural ability who never realized their potential, not because they lacked brilliance, but because they lacked the staying power to endure failure, delay, and adversity. Persistence is that invisible force that separates those who almost made it from those who did. It is the inner steel that drives a man forward long after the mood has faded, the applause has stopped, and the path has grown cold. While talent is often romanticized as the key to greatness, it is persistence unseen, uncelebrated, and often painful that does the heavy lifting. Talent may shine brightly in the beginning, but if it is not married to persistence, it withers under pressure. The persistent man keeps showing up, keeps digging, keeps adjusting, no matter how many times the results fall short. He develops stamina not just in his body, but in his will. He does not wait to feel motivated. He acts regardless of how he feels. Real success is almost always a result of ordinary individuals who practiced extraordinary perseverance. The story of Thomas Edison illustrates this principle with unmatched clarity. When asked how it felt to fail thousands of times while trying to invent the electric light, Edison responded, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That statement embodies the mindset of persistence. Edison was not the most intellectually gifted scientist of his time, but he was among the most determined. His dogged refusal to quit, his willingness to keep learning from each failed attempt, and his insistence on pressing forward even when success seemed impossibly far off are what set him apart. Each failure became fuel. Each rejection sharpened his resolve. It was not genius that lit the world with electricity. It was persistence that refused to die. The principle holds true across every domain. In sports, consider Michael Jordan. Though known for his talent, he was famously cut from his high school basketball team. Most would have interpreted that moment as a signal to give up. Jordan used it as fire. He trained harder, pushed further, and returned with a level of intensity that would eventually earn him the title of one of the greatest athletes of all time. He has often said that the reason he succeeded was not because he never failed, but because he never stopped trying. Behind every record-breaking season and championship trophy is a long trail of unseen early mornings, missed shots, private frustrations, and relentless repetition. Persistence, not talent, formed the foundation of that greatness. Even in business, the same truth applies. Entrepreneurs who build lasting companies rarely succeed with their first idea or even their second. They face rejection from investors, skepticism from customers, and betrayal from partners. But the ones who rise above are those who refuse to quit. They pivot, adapt, rebuild, and re-enter the fight every single time. They understand that success is not a straight line and that the only real failure is in giving up. Their persistence carves a path through the noise, through the setbacks, through the competition, until eventually the market has no choice but to notice them. Talent may bring a flash of brilliance, but persistence brings the long, steady burn that outlasts everyone else on the field. No man can rise to great heights alone. The idea of the solitary genius, the lone wolf achieving greatness through individual effort alone, is a romantic myth that has deceived many and destroyed more. Real power, lasting, effective, world-shaping power emerges when two or more minds unite in harmony around a common purpose. This is the essence of the Mastermind Alliance, a deliberate, strategic coordination of minds where the combined intelligence, experience, and energy of multiple individuals produces a force far greater than the sum of its parts. When minds blend in such a way, they generate an intangible but very real additional mind, a collective intelligence that accelerates ideas, sharpens decisions, and strengthens every individual involved. A mastermind alliance does not happen by accident. It must be built intentionally with people who are not only skilled, but who are aligned in values, purpose, and ambition. Harmony is essential. Discord within a mastermind group is not merely inconvenient, it is fatal to progress. The power of a mastermind alliance can be seen clearly in the success of industrial giants like Henry Ford. Ford, though often seen as the symbol of singular brilliance, was surrounded by a carefully chosen group of thinkers, engineers, and financiers who each brought specialized knowledge to the table. He was not the most educated man among them, but he was wise enough to gather and coordinate minds more skilled than his own. Among his closest associates were Thomas Edison, Harvey Firestone, and others who helped guide strategic direction, solve technical challenges, and expand business operations. It was through this alliance of high-level thinkers that Ford was able to pioneer not only the automobile, but the mass production system that revolutionized industry. He did not try to do everything himself. He focused on vision and leadership, while the collective brainpower of the group solved problems with speed and accuracy no single individual could have matched. The principle is equally potent outside of the industrial world. Consider the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur. They were not trained engineers. They had no advanced education. Yet they were a living embodiment of a mastermind alliance in motion. Their shared vision, constant dialogue, and synchronized effort allowed them to test ideas, share discoveries, and push each other beyond the limitations of individual thought. Every flight test, every mechanical adjustment, every failed experiment was analyzed and refined together. They challenged each other, supported each other, and together they broke through one of the greatest barriers in human history. Flight. Alone, neither would likely have succeeded. Together, they created a new era. The strength of a mastermind alliance lies not just in intellectual horsepower, but in emotional resilience. When you are surrounded by others who believe in the mission as deeply as you do, discouragement loses its grip. Setbacks are met with solutions, not surrender. The alliance becomes a support system, an incubator for innovation, a defense against the discouragement that inevitably comes with ambitious goals. It creates accountability, inspiration, and momentum. The mind, when linked with others of similar intensity and direction, becomes sharper, more confident, more creative. In the right alliance, ideas are challenged, not crushed. Failure is studied, not feared, and victories are multiplied, not hoarded. The individual becomes stronger, not weaker, by depending on others, because the dependency is not of need, but of shared purpose. A true mastermind is not a group of people working together. It is a fusion of minds building something greater than any of them could alone. Now I ask you, will you merely listen, or will you live these rules? Because those who listen may remember, but those who live them become legends. Follow these rules and you will not just succeed, you will become the best.